And we're back now. Hope you enjoyed those duct tapes. Hope you have been enlightened as to the chrome being a lie, as we are now going to be jumping into our final semi-final map of the evening. It is going to be our ace map. One single, no, it's not a set, game, there we go, to decide who Heroes opponent in those grand finals is going to be. And it's going to come down to Gresvan over here in the top left-hand corner of the map, starting all the way in the top left-hand corner. We have our red Protoss player coming out from the land of Korea. He's, of course, going to be representing Twisted Minds because his mind is in his chin. He is classic.
And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Terran player representing himself. It is GuMiho.
Going double gas.
Yeah, exactly. We have the second gas geyser on the way, so GuMiho is going to be going for a faster factory, is going to be going for a little bit more aggression here, as the SCV does avoid the path of that probe, as Classic is going for a bit of a scout, trying to figure out what is up across the map.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't too privy as to how the rest of the series has transpired so far. So we're not sure if they really need to be too suspicious of each other, but GuMiho is sticking around right outside Classic's main base with an SCV, and this is why.
So I assumed this was going to be a proxy starport. I assumed it was a double gas opener into a 1-1-1, but no, it's a proxy factory instead. Is he crazy enough to try to float the factory into the main?
He may be. I would say he could. I would say GuMiho is also crazy enough to drop a tank into the main.
Well, the other thing that this could be is a proxy factory and a proxy starport. And yeah, there we go. It looks like he's rallying his SCV over, I think, for the starport as well, for a very fast drop into the main. But we'll see how he does kind of execute this. Meanwhile, Classic still none the wiser. He was denied entry into the main. He doesn't know that the factory is missing.
And he does not. Now, typically, with a proxy like this, it is going to be Hellions. GuMiho making a Widow Mine first. Okay, I kind of like it.
Yeah, so it looks like a mine drop. Yeah, a very committed mine drop as an armory is thrown down back at home. Detection is going to be required. Thankfully for Classic, he does have a Stargate on the way, so he will have access to oracles, and hopefully he has an oracle out in time for these eventual Widow Mines.
Yeah, we'll see about that. We'll see what the first unit he makes out of this starport is. I think Phoenixes in general would be very, very safe in most scenarios for a PvT if you don't really know what you're up against, but hopefully he is... but against a proxy mine drop like this, it might not actually be that effective. You might need to be very on point with your... You would have to be very on point with your patrolling.
There's layers to this. Okay, so it's going to start off as a proxy mine drop. Then I think we have an add-on swap here. We can either proxy a tank or we can go for, say, a Banshee follow-up instead. The Rax is also across the map, so GuMiho is one base all in. He is not expanding at all. The game is going to end momentarily, one way or the other. And he's going for a Thor drop. Let's go.
You'll love to see it. That's one unit that cannot be lifted by the Phoenixes.
Oof.
I think it'll actually work out really well for him.
Oh, but the Phoenix is out and the medevac is under threat. The Thor drop is gonna be disturbed here. He needs to keep this medevac alive. He needs to repair it up as well as it is being zoned away.
Yeah, he needs to somehow kind of boost it through the Phoenix perhaps, and then just get it to that Thor location. But nope, the medevac will be going down. Thankfully for GuMiho, he was already starting to get another Phoenix, another medevac prepared.
Yeah, exactly. There's a couple more mine shots are going off, but again, we have an observer on the way. The robo is done. We do have a second medevac coming up, but that means that this Thor drop is very delayed. Marines are rallying across the map. Boys are being pulled as well. Boys are going to be so important here for the repairs to keep this Thor alive. The Thor with mass SCVs to repair, as well as a medevac to help like micro and juggle it as well, is going to be intense.
It really, really is. Classic is now getting the anti-Thor unit in that Immortal, but it is still on the way, and it can still be denied somewhat.
Yeah, exactly.
Going to be getting on top of the Thor.
Yeah, and there we go. They do get the repair off on that Thor. Overcharge is looking strong here. The Marines are also so far preserving themselves. GuMiho has to be very careful to preserve that Marine count, especially against all of these depths. The Immortal has arrived.
And it is starting to put in a lot of work. Phoenixes are struggling to lift up those SCVs. The Thor is now in a lot of trouble. It will get lifted up, but the medevac itself gets sniped by the Phoenix. GG is called, and Classic will hold a very quirky build coming out from GuMiho to go to the grand finals. Something tells you that this isn't the first time Classic has dealt with this.
This isn't the first time I've seen GuMiho go for a proxy Thor, to be fair. And it has worked before. I want to say GuMiho versus Trigger. He did this against Trigger a couple of weeks ago in ESL Open Cup Americas. Yeah, and it was terrifying to see GuMiho whip it out then and there. But here, unfortunately, it did kind of fall in its face. Against the Stargate opener, it was a little bit unfortunate. We saw the first medevac go down, which delayed everything else. On top of that, the mines didn't really do too much either. They denied mining time, sure, but we saw that for the most part, Classic was able to keep a cool and collected head. GG, well played.
Very nicely done here from Classic. Yeah, again, I mean, it's a very interesting build that we saw from GuMiho, and one that I honestly think can work out in a TvP. It's just that in this specific situation, I feel like GuMiho was a little bit late when it came to things like his Thor juggling, when it came to his micro, and the actual execution of the build. The Phoenix inclusion from Classic. I thought was a little bit worrisome at first, because I thought GuMiho was just going to commit to a mass Widow Mine and then eventually Marine drop. But going into a Thor drop after that, I mean, Classic was doing just such a good job of zoning away the medevacs with his Phoenixes and even taking them out with them.
Yeah, exactly. It was just very well executed by Classic in the end. And yeah, GG, well played. We have our two finalists. It is going to be a PvP Grand Finals. Not the first time we've seen this, if you recall. It is going to be Classic versus Hero.
Yeah, actually kind of becoming the new tradition in a way. I do feel like more often than not, in 2023 at least, we have had Classic versus Hero in the Grand Finals of ESL Open Cup Asia. We've also had it for the Grand Finals of KSL a couple of times, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, this is something I'm very excited for. Just because they play against each other a lot doesn't mean that they're used to anything or they play in any predictable ways. I will never forget the one evening where WTL got rescheduled to a Monday when Dragon Kaiser Gaming was up. And so, but Hero was in the Grand Finals against Classic, so he just whipped out a bunch of different builds that were meant to end the game as quickly as possible. Ended up backfiring, because I believe we actually ended up in a full best of 5 scenario after that. But yeah, they definitely have some very quirky builds, PvP builds specifically planned for each other specifically.
Yeah, we should kind of emphasize that basically we see hyper aggression out of these two players. Very rarely, it's not impossible, but very rarely do we see like straight up standard macro PvP between both Hero and Classic. They're usually in each other's faces, usually proxying each other, going for one base all-ins. It's very chaotic and it's a lot of fun. Like I love casting these two face off more than almost any other Protoss players.